Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fusion Industry Association. My name is Sid Cowley. I am a PhD student studying at the University of York and working at the Cullum Centre for Fusion Energy. Today is Friday the 29th of July and I'm here to give you your weekly fusion news update. Stories today include 1. Nuclear fusion investment hits £2.5 billion in race for breakthrough. 2. Laser fusion facility heads back to the drawing board. 3. UK AEA and Commonwealth Fusion Systems sign agreement to advance fusion energy. 4. Google and Chevron invest in nuclear fusion startup that's raised $1.2 billion. And of course, I've got some bonuses at the end as well. 1. Nuclear fusion investment hits £2.5 billion in race for breakthrough. Our first story today comes from The Telegraph and discusses the general state of fusion funding across the world. In particular, the story highlights the fact that $2.8 billion has been invested in the fusion industry over the past 12 months, which beats the $2 billion invested in the fusion industry over the previous 10 years. Now, as well as this exponential increase in funding, the article discusses that the fusion industry has seen a boom in optimism and drive for achieving fusion. In fact, a recent Fusion Industry Association survey showed that 93% of companies believe that fusion power will be producing net electricity in the 2030s. Andrew Holland, CEO of the Fusion Industry Association, said that with investment accelerating, it is increasingly likely that commercial fusion will become a reality within the next 2 decades, providing the basis for prosperity, safety, and security for many years to come. The article also highlights 3 key fusion projects in the UK, including the Joint European Torus, or JET, located at Cullum, which recently produced a world record 59 megajoules of fusion energy out in a single shot. The other 2 projects mentioned are Tokamak Energy and First Light Fusion, both of which are Fusion Industry Association members. 2. Laser fusion facility heads back to the drawing board. Our second story today comes from Nature and covers the National Ignition Facility in the US, a roughly $3.5 billion facility that uses 192 laser beams focused onto a fusion capsule in the goal of trying to achieve ignited fusion reactions. Now, last August, the National Ignition Facility achieved a really impressive 1.4 megajoules of fusion energy out from a single capsule implosion, which we covered at the time on this channel. To put this in perspective, the energy output is roughly 1,000 times the output of NIF's first experiments in 2009. And keep in mind, both experiments used roughly the same facilities and lasers. This article from Nature discusses the future of the National Ignition Facility and laser fusion in general after that record-breaking shot. For example, since August, the National Ignition Facility has been performing repeats of their 1.4 megajoule shots to try and get the same energy gain. But the second best shots they have only produced 50% of that energy. Of course, this lack of reproducibility is not at all unexpected, since right now the National Ignition Facility experiments are getting close to what we call the ignition cliff, where small changes in, for example, the capsule shape or laser energy that are very unavoidable can lead to significant changes in the physics and the fusion energy output. Chief National Ignition Facility scientist Omar Hurricane has been pressing for additional repeats of the same experiment, saying, "We understand why the repeat shots have performed the way they did, but we're still trying to pin down what exactly about these engineering aspects we need to control better." But despite this, program leaders have opted to move forward to new experiments with newer capsule design and laser energies. In general, the campaign last year led to a lot of questions about the future of the National Ignition Facility, and in particular, whether it should be significantly upgraded or scrapped in favor of a new facility with modern laser technology, as was suggested by an independent scientific panel advising the government last year, or whether there's still a lot of great physics to be done with the current setup, and whether scientists can continue to optimize that current setup by making smaller changes and pushing their understanding of the physics to an even greater degree. 3. UK AEA and Commonwealth Fusion Systems sign agreement to advance fusion energy. This next story comes from the UK government and covers the announcement of a collaboration between the UK AEA, or UK Atomic Energy Authority, and Commonwealth Fusion Systems, a private fusion company based in Boston in the US. The 5-year collaborative framework lays out the scope of the work and innovations to be shared by both parties. This includes sharing of technology facilities, such as the UK AEA's cutting-edge robotics facilities. It also includes collaboration on more practical aspects of achieving fusion, such as advanced manufacturing, tritium fuel cycles, and neutronics, all of which Commonwealth Fusion Systems are set to research heavily as they rapidly approach building their prototype device, Spark, in 2025. Ian Chapman, CEO of the UK Atomic Energy Authority, said that with regards to this collaboration, achieving our shared missions to deliver low-carbon and sustainable fusion energy involves working at the forefront of science, engineering, and technology. This new collaboration agreement with Commonwealth Fusion Systems will help push these developments and capabilities, drive innovation, and accelerate progress. While Bob Momgard, CEO of Commonwealth Fusion Systems, said that the UK AEA is a leader in fusion energy research, and Commonwealth Fusion Systems plans to establish a UK presence as we leverage the combined skills and talents of both organizations to develop the fastest path to commercial fusion power on the grid. Now, personally, I really like hearing about stories like this where we have great collaborations between different organizations, because it shows, despite that there's, some competition sometimes, that everyone really wants to achieve the same thing, which is getting nuclear fusion available as fast as possible. 4. Google and Chevron invest in nuclear fusion startup that's raised $1.2 billion. Our final story today covers an announcement of funding for TAE Technologies, a California-based fusion company founded in 1998, which is part of the Fusion Industry Association. This story, which has been featured both in CNBC and the Financial Times this week, covers a recent $250 million funding round from TAE Technologies in order to fund its 6th-generation device, Copernicus. The main aim of this device is to sustain roughly 100 million degrees Celsius plasma and, in effect, to demonstrate their fusion technology by showing net fuel gain. This latest round of funding brings TAE Technologies' total funding to around $1.2 billion. And investors this round include Google, Japan's Sumitomo Corporation, and the US oil giant Chevron. With regards to this round of funding, President of Chevron Technology Ventures said that TAE and fusion technology as a whole has the potential to be a scalable source of no-carbon energy generation and a key enabler of grid stability as renewables become a greater portion of the energy mix. Now, for our bonus stories today, I have not one but 2 excellent documentaries on YouTube about fusion. The first comes from the Fully Charged show on YouTube and covers tokamak energy in particular, as well as a sort of general introduction to fusion. The second comes from Bloomberg and has a focus on the advent of the private fusion industry and how that has led to a massive increase in fusion funding globally. I really recommend you check both of these documentaries out. I really love seeing fusion in video and hearing interviews from people working in fusion right now. So I really recommend you check both of those out. Right, well, that's all for Fusion News this week. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please feel free as always to leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. If any of these stories interest you in particular, the links will be in the description, and as always, we have that Fusion News Extra podcast where we take deep dives into certain fusion news stories that week. Right, that's all. Thanks for watching.